YouTube. We're definitely live on YouTube. Uh, I think I'm trying to use this more instead of these apps because I'm trying to do the YouTube thing more.
Yep.
So, so yeah. Okay, it says we're live. I'm gonna go on my phone and see if we're really live.
Okay. I'll check too, because I
Yeah.
always get your notifications.
Okay, for YouTube,
No, for Instagram.
I'm not live on YouTube, Instagram. It's live on YouTube and supposed to be Facebook.
Okay.
So that's where we're live at right now. Um, yeah. So I'm gonna go on YouTube and see, because sometimes this stuff works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh nope, it's saying that we're live on YouTube. Hey
Okay.
YouTube, let me know where you guys are checking in from. Where you at? What country? What city? What state?
How
So
come
we live there
I can't see you?
on
It's
YouTube.
Flourish with Flowers, right?
Yeah, it's going to be on YouTube and Facebook. It's supposed to be on Facebook.
I'm not seeing it.
No. Oh, you know why? Because it's going live to my personal channel.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh well, it's there now.
All right.
No, ain't nothing I can do about it right now. It's already started. So, like I said, we are live on YouTube and Facebook, and we are talking about yoga being of the devil. And I have with me Karina Parkman. She is a certified yoga therapist, and we went live. I don't even know how long ago that was.
Ooh, that was last year before June.
For June? Okay, we went live last year before June. I don't even remember what we talked about, but it was
What
a good talk.
it was about what yoga is and what yoga therapy is and the differences and similarities.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we had a great talk and some great laughs because me and you
We cut up.
we be acting up. And we be acting up. We be acting
We
up
cut
for
up.
real. For real. And we have fun.
We do.
And today we decided to talk about yoga being inviting spirits in and being demonic, and but I wanted to have a real conversation about it because a lot of people say, especially I used to go to church, I was told that it was of the devil, it's demonic, and you shouldn't do it because they're saying namaste and you don't know what God you're talking to, and da 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 da. And I'm just like, I just want to feel better. Like,
Right.
I just want to feel better. At that time, I had cancer, and then after I got off all the cancer medications and stuff like that, I felt like crap. My body hurt every day, so I was trying to find different things to feel better.
Right.
So, it's a lot. It's a lot.
And did you feel better?
I didn't do it because it was of the devil. At that time, I was just like, okay, I'll just
So
be
they just persuaded you away.
obedient.
Yeah, being obedient to the congregation and not to the Lord.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
It's like, well, who are we being obedient to?
Right. Because I mean, you're told to take care of your temple, so
Yes.
how is this not? Yeah, and that's why I wanted to talk about it because it was seeming like don't do this. This is this, and don't do this. This, but what? But why? But you never get a real answer why.
Right. And first of all, Mika, let me just say thank you for once again having me here and sharing this space and having this conversation, because I feel like it's one that should be had. Even though I personally find it as a bunch of nonsense, and I know that this is an absolute necessary conversation to have, especially for folks who were like you, who wanted to who had an idea that they thought would be good and would have been good.
Right.
But there could be somebody in that situation you were in right now watching this. And I really hope that having this conversation will be helpful to them.
Right.
Because it's coming from an educated lens. And I don't mean educated as in stuffy.
Right.
I mean well-knowledged, wisdom-based, evidence-based, the whole shebang.
Right.
So again, thank you for having this space for myself and others to indulge in.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
because I know you was like, I don't really want to get into it, but let's say we're gonna get into it.
Let's get into it, right? So one of the things that always comes to mind when I'm approached by folk on this topic is, one, I just want to preface everything. If I say us, I mean the Black church, because I identify as a active Black member of the Black church.
Got it.
So I'm holding myself accountable in this because my brothers and sisters in Christ. So when I'm approached in this unusual way about this topic, I often wonder, why are we talking about demons and witchcraft and evils so much if the Bible clearly states what it clearly states? We are well protected. We are nourished. We have innate good. We have a supreme God. We have the Alpha and Omega as our Father, and we are children of the kingdom. Like, why is it that we are hyper fixated on these negative things? Yeah. And at one point I thought to myself, it's just because we have all this negative stuff in the world. It's so easy for the residues to stick on people, energy work, if you will.
Right.
But then I thought to myself, that's a choice. That's sometimes a choice. Sometimes I hyperfixations on the negative sides of it all it's just a choice, know. If we're so used to the drama and the chaos and the disorder, we choose to partake in that, and then unfortunately it spills into our spiritual life. So instead of being hyper fixated on our relationship with God, sometimes we end up being hyper fixated on what others are doing in their relationship with God or another God. And I feel like that's a little dangerous. That's kind of a dangerous game to play. So, and I feel like the answer to the question, why are we so heavily fixated on demons and witchcraft and everything, can be answered by one of two things, or two things at the same time. Spiritual bypassing, and I'll define what that is, and Christian demonic filter, which is a philosophy by Ebony Janice, who's an author, philosopher, and she writes about this a lot in her work, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But before I get into this, the Christian demonic filter and spiritual bypassing, I have to also start all of this off by saying, as a clinically trained professional yoga therapist, it is imperative that I recognize a person's lived experience and truth as a legitimate resource that can be cited. So in other words, what you experience and what you have felt, I'm not going to take it away from you. I'm not going to say it's a lie. I'm not going to say in any which way, shape, or form that it's discounted because it's never happened to me. That's not my job as a yoga therapist. My job as a yoga therapist is to help you understand your experience, help you to understand your emotions, and help you to view, through self-awareness, view your own lived experience through an outside lens. View yourself as the viewer and the experiencer. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Let me know if I'm ever getting confusion.
I'm listening.
So with all of that being said, your truth is your truth and your lived experience is your lived experience. However, on the other side of this coin, there is a possibility of spiritual bypassing. What that means is, friends, is that sometimes folks use spirituality or doctrine to avoid facing difficult emotions or experiences. So what does that look like? That can sometimes look like my mental illness is karma from when I used to do X, Y, and Z before I converted to Christ. I'm experiencing depression after I gave birth to this child because I had this child out of wedlock. It could be I'm gaining weight because God don't like me no more. It could be a plethora of things. Those are just a few examples. They may be far-fetched or a little silly, but people's minds go to these places and they do all that they can within the church or the temple or the mosque or whatever. Spiritual bypassing can be well beyond Christianity.
Right.
They do what they can in the spiritual to regulate the natural. And sometimes that can help. However, when it's done for every occurrence, that's when we got issues. And so what we see on this specific topic is I did yoga. Started breathing. Something happened to me. I didn't like it. It was demonic.
Right.
Instead of questioning what was happening, instead of journaling about what happened, instead of really examining yourself, having self-awareness, our minds immediately go to the negative, the demonic, the evil for a number of things, right?
Right.
So are we getting any and I know I'm like going on and blabbering right now. Are we getting any questions about spiritual bypassing so far?
Not yet. There's some people in there, but they're not saying anything.
Okay.
I think everybody's listening.
All right. And this concept of spiritual bypassing, it's nothing new. People do it all the times, but sometimes it gets brought to a point where it's very dramatic. We see it often in cults. You know?
Yep.
Our leader hasn't come out of the sky yet, so we got to go to him. We gonna spike the Kool-Aid, Jim Jones,
right,
and go see him.
They seen him all right.
Right. So, I mean, that's just and I'm not trying to water down that situation.
Right, because it's not, it was a situation.
It was a situation.
Yeah.
You know, but there was a lot of spiritual bypassing that was going on there. So that's common on a lower level. That's common in the Black church with us. So, and if we're not careful and not aware, these things can eat us up.
Right.
These things can eat us up. Now on the other portion, the other answer to that question, why are we so fixated on the evils and the demons and all these things? And this is kind of a little bit more thorough of an answer. I'm going to take my time with this. Is the Christian demonic filter. Again, it's created by Ebony Janice. She's the author of All the Black Girls Are Activists. Now, that's a heavy book. If you get it and read it, take it with a grain of salt. It's a heavy book.
Okay.
It's going to empower you and humble you at the same time. So and there's points in there where you may agree with, where you may not agree with, but she does touch on the Christian demonic filter a lot. And basically what that is a mechanism that socializes a person or a group of people to perceive things that aren't expressly stated in the Bible to be filtered out as demonic.
Okay.
So for example, if it's not stated in the Bible, That thing is demonic. Them penguins that aren't in the Bible are of the devil.
Wait, penguins?
Right. The word penguins, and that's the only thing I could think of as I was preparing myself for this. I'm like, penguins aren't ever mentioned in the book. We got the birds, we got the bees, we got the horses.
It's a bird.
So
that's the first time hearing that one.
Again, it's just my brain. So, but the things that aren't expressed, the word yoga isn't mentioned in the Bible. So we're viewing it as this demonic thing. If it ain't in the good book, it ain't good.
But the word go to the gym ain't in the Bible either. So soul food ain't in the Bible.
Soul food ain't in the Bible. But somebody said somewhere, this ain't good. And so, but that gets taken to another level. So Christian demonic filter can be seen as in, there's a guest pastor, and this is an actual situation that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's guest pastor came to a church that he was preaching at, walks in through the space, the sanctuary is filled with people. Because, when a guest pastor comes to a church that's not theirs, everybody comes.
Right.
It's filled with people. And I don't know how big this church was, but it was apparently pretty big. And he starts to say, as soon as he gets to the pulpit,
mm-hmm.
we need to pray some spirits away, because I'm sensing some really bad spirits in here.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in the middle of the pulpit. He's getting ready to preach, and he's saying we need to pray away these spirits that I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm. A
few years later, this man's in therapy and finds out he has social anxiety. So I'm not gonna laugh at social anxiety, because some people struggle with that. And apparently this pastor was one of those people. The Christian demonic filter, by definition, says that social anxiety is an evil thing. But we know it naturally to be a phase of mental health. Our mental health ebbs and flows depending on what we're doing, what's in our environment, what's in our internal environment, if it's day or night, if we've been drinking or not, if we've been treating our bodies right or not, if we've gotten water today or not. I can get depressed right now in this very moment if I don't nourish myself properly, because I haven't been nourishing myself properly. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a condition that depends on a few things. So if you're in a crowded space that you've never been to, but you recognize it as a holy space, the sanctuary, where people are coming and excited to see you, and you get this sense that there's evil spirits here and we need to pray it away. But then you find out it's really social anxiety. It's because then you didn't understand or take the time to acknowledge that there's an issue here and I need somebody to help me with it.
Right.
I can pray about it, but God already gave me the answer. We got therapy. We got Christian therapy.
Right.
I can learn some tools and things that aren't mentioned in the Bible. Maybe some breath work, Maybe I can just repeat a few positive affirmations to myself in my head, so on and so forth. You understand? So my my answer is simply this: no, it is not. Yoga is not demonic. Okay. The dirty details as to why can be explained so many ways, but like I said, my main explanations can be seen through Christian demonic filter and or spiritual bypassing. A lot of the times I'll have people say, and they're just talking to themselves in my DM, quite literally. I'm not actually having these conversations, but I read them every now and then. When I want to have a good chuckle, I read them. So I'll have people say, oh, this thing is demonic. It's witchcraft. It's this, it's that. Or I'll get questioned. How are you not worshiping the devil through yoga? And I'm like, well, if we're forming questions, Can you ask me why I started doing yoga in the first place, or why I continue to do yoga?
That doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
That
It's
doesn't matter.
no one cares about my well-being.
It doesn't matter.
No one cares about my well-being. And so
So I'm gonna ask you, how did you start doing yoga and why?
oh boy, here we go. So, and that's what I was going to touch on. So I was in a really bad place in my junior year of college. I was up at UConn Stores, go Huskies, and I wanted to drop out. I was ready to come home. I was flat broke. I couldn't understand anything. I was just going through it. Just wasn't doing right. And so on my way to the Office of Register, I saw a sign for the yoga club, because UConn's got a lot of clubs.
Yeah.
Like over 500 clubs and activities for students to get into. Oh yeah, they don't want you just sitting up and studying. They want you to do something. So there was the yoga club. So I said, all right, let me just go to this thing. What is this? I've heard about yoga, but I never really actually did it. So the first 10 minutes of class, and this doesn't happen in a lot of fitness yoga studios, but the first 10 minutes of class, we were simply recognizing our breath. We were breathing, not to any rhythm, not to any external point, but focusing our attention and awareness on our breath. Doing just that made me say, all right, you know what? I think I can get myself together. I want to come back to this, because if I leave UConn, I can't go to Waterbury and do this, because there's more I want to learn.
Right.
So I stayed in school because of it, and I graduated because of it. It made my prayer life much more intimate. It allowed me to organize my thoughts. It allowed me to regulate my emotions and even my nervous system.
Okay.
Yoga had, and that's really sometimes all you need is
that's big.
That's big, you know, when you're guided properly. Yeah. So and then after that, I got my yoga certification, went on to do yoga therapy, and now I'm a certified yoga therapist with a master's degree. I have to specify that, because a lot of the times folk get into yoga therapy and they just get their certification. But if you want clinical experience, you got to go and get that master's. Now, I'm trained as a clinical yoga therapist. Most people end up learning and figuring the clinical side of yoga therapy out on their own. I didn't want to do that. It's too much work. So I said, we're gonna get a little master's degree. All right. So but even with that, some people are like, well, the breath work opens you up to different spirits. How do you know that wasn't a new spirit that you were getting in you during school? I'm like, well, why would God breathe into dirt and make humankind? There's a philosophy in yoga, pranayama, and it says, you know, the vitality of life rides on the breath. You need the breath. It's very important. You have to learn how to appropriately use the breath. There's a saying that goes, you can go days and weeks without food and water, but you can only go a few minutes without your breath.
Right. So
that shows you in and of itself how important the breath is, how big and massive and powerful the breath is, and how to use it appropriately. Even when we're doing the physical portions, postures of yoga, you know, we have to breathe. We have to circulate the blood, open the muscles, get past the fascia and tissue, lubricate the joints to make sure that they are all of these systems of our body and all of these portions of our body are functioning properly.
Right.
And so that's how I got to yoga. And that's why I'm staying in yoga, regardless as to someone's knowledge of yoga through the Bible.
Right. Right. And then you just said about the breath, and I thought about when you go to the doctor, and the doctor, he tells you take a deep breath. Or somebody's having an anxiety attack. They tell you know, on TV you will see them, they give them a paper bag.
Yeah.
Breathe in slow.
Yes.
Breathe out slow.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah.
The breath is powerful. It does a lot. The breath is the window to the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell what state your nervous system is in just by viewing a person's breath and how they're breathing. Are they breathing with their shoulders like a cartoon character? Are they breathing through their chest as if they were sick? Are they using their belly? You know, the breath will show you a lot of things about a person's well-being. You know, but yeah, you're not invoking anything. I think it's important for folk who are saying that, you know, this is a whole witchcraft thing. I think it's important for them to understand that the Bible states you have to study to show yourself approved. You know, a workman has to rightfully divide the work of truth. I think that's 2 Timothy or something. 1 Timothy. I don't know. Timothy. And you can't learn about yoga through the Bible. You gotta go to somebody's class. You gotta ask someone unbiased questions. You have to ask these questions in a respectful and wanting to learn knowledge kind of way, in
not
order
wanting to debate.
Yeah, you have to not want to debate. You have to want to learn so that you can rightfully divide the word of truth. You have to understand that. And a lot of people will say, well, it's heavily influenced by Hinduism. Yeah, so is AA and NA. But I don't see a lot of Christian alcoholics right now. Well, no. You know, and it's and people, and within even in that organization, those two organizations, people still go. They don't have to convert. They know that they're not praising Jesus by going to an NA meeting. You know, Hindus have a spiritual text, thick spiritual text called the Vedas. That's like their version of the Bible, the Vedas. Get with a Hindu person and ask them, you know, what does it say? What's the main theme there? How is yoga a way to worship those deities? They don't tell you. They'll tell you, go touch grass. That's all it takes. Go touch grass. This thing ain't hard. This isn't hard. I also, if you're still funny about what I'm saying, feeling funny about what I'm saying, there's a book by Charlene Muhammad and Dr. Pepper Citizen called Yoga in the Black Community, Healing Practices and Principles. I'm gonna keep this still for y'all. Is it flipped?
Screenshot it.
Okay, screenshot it and then flip it in your phone if it's flipped.
It looks flipped on mine, but
okay,
I don't know how it looks. I don't know how it looks to them.
It talks about yoga in the Black community, the historical context and the present day context, how it helps with you know, all the racial isms and stressors of, you know, just being in this place as a Black person, just existing and finding various ways to heal. It has a section in here, I think it's part 2, that talks about demystifying yoga in the Black community.
Okay.
And it talks about part 3, demystifying yoga in the Black community. It talks about Black folk doing yoga who may want to debunk it or discount it through the lens of Christianity. And I think they do a well-rounded way of spelling it out gently. It talks about how a lot of the doctrine in the Bible definitely aligns with the 8-limb path of yoga. The yamas and niyamas, you know, finding joy and solace and seeking God. You know, that's Ishvara Pranidhana, ahimsa, having respect for life, not doing harm, doing no harm and causing no harm. You know, finding contentment, gratitude, and all these things. There's a few things in there that they flesh out very well. And Dr. Pepper Citizens was actually my She was a professor for me at Maryland University of Integrative Health. I'm wearing the sweatshirt not on purpose, I promise. I promise you. But she was my professor down at MUIH, and she's a Black woman, and she's also currently the president of the Black Yoga Teachers Alliance. So she knows a thing or two. Her and Miss Charlene Muhammad, and she's the treasurer at Black Yoga Teacher Alliance. She's dope as well. So they wrote that book together, and it really spells out so many things on this topic that you and I are discussing here. So I think they did it justice, and I hope that what I explained here today also did some justice. Any questions so far?
I don't see any.
Okay.
I don't see any.
The folk are just quiet and listening.
I just wanted to, I wanted to have the conversation because, like, I feel like people say things, but nobody wants to have a conversation about it. Or you want to go have a side conversation with this person or with that person. We all can sit and talk together. It doesn't have to be an argument. It doesn't have to. We don't have to agree.
We don't. We don't. It's okay.
Let's at least talk about it.
Right.
And nobody really wants to do that, and I'm just like,
because it touches so closely to home. It's a sensitive because now you're talking spiritual system or philosophy against religion, and people take their religion very seriously, as they should, but also study your word,
right,
and learn how to be a good human,
right.
I always say it's not that hard, but for some folk it is. Some folk it is. Like I was saying at the beginning, some people are so bogged down by the woes of life that the residue just sticks there, and now it's a part of them. Right. And that's how they walk through life. But I always do my due diligence to recognize that there is good somewhere in there. My pastor always says, sometimes you just gotta love the hell out of people. Love the hell out of them people. So
don't say that.
You gotta love it out of them,
Right.
So it's you got it, and that's the hard work, that's the hard work. So I always try to keep that in mind. There's goodness in there, whether they want to have conversation or not, whether they want to listen or not.
Right. I just feel like when you want to complain about something, you want to say something's this, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's sit and talk about it. Yeah. Because everybody wants to talk about what they want to talk about, and that's fine. But don't come in my DM trying to go back and forth with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like answering the DM.
And then you don't have a real reason for it. Why? And I'm asking you why? So even before we got on live, I put up a post like, don't come in my DMs. If you have something to say, come say it in the chat. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Because in the DMs, you can go back and forth all day. Yeah. But if we're going to have a live on it, we're going to have a live conversation about it. Why don't you want to come to the live conversation? Why don't you want to talk there? So for me, I'm to the point where I'm now thinking about all the things that I was told that was of the devil, and like, why? Why don't we question things just because this person said, or this because that person said? Why don't we question it? And even I'll even say, where in the Bible does that match up?
Yeah.
Like, give me some scripture so I could go look it up myself. Because a lot of people don't know, because I talk about it every once in a while, but a lot of people don't know that I went to church. And when I was in church, you look some stuff up. You got a dictionary, you got a Bible dictionary, you got all the stuff. You go and look it up, and you go.
You have the tools.
Start yourself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, they don't want to do that. They just want to say, well, my pastor said, or this was said.
Right.
Okay, but what do you think?
I also get, and this is what I love to consider about us, this group of us. I like to consider that, sometimes we do get convictions from God, but then other times it's like, well, let's question our convictions. What really are these things?
Right.
And it's really important for us to get the permission to allow ourselves to have the permission to question our convictions. A lot of people were told growing up that they can't question God. Jesus Christ did it while he was being crucified between two thieves. He questioned God outright in Hebrew. If
Job,
he can do it,
Job
you
did it. Job did it. Jonah did it. Jonah did a lot of questioning.
Yes. So it's just like, bring these questions to God. Ask God, why did you give this conviction to me? Or why am I having this feeling or this experience? Flesh it out. Get it out on paper. Sometimes journaling also helps. And then reflect on that journaling, you know? Right. I know a lot of times we're told to, not question God, don't do this, don't do that. But at the same time, how are we to develop ourselves spiritually and mature spiritually if we don't ask a question about what's going on and have humility as we're asking these questions?
Right.
I know people don't like talking about the word humility, but sometimes we got to put ourselves aside to make way for the answer. See ourselves not as lesser than or greater than, but be willing to make room for the answer to the questions that we have.
Right.
So, God could be telling you, don't go over there. It's not safe. But at the same time, take time to give yourself the permission to question it, and having that conversation will help. And then sometimes God will just be like, hey, look, I'm God. You heard what I said. You know what I mean? Right. You want to be obedient to God. You're so compelled by it that you want to shout to the rooftops. It is demonic. Maybe sit down and have a conversation with God. Let's have a little talk with Jesus. Yeah. Right. So because
at one point you couldn't wear pants. So
yeah.
And I'm like, I never read that. I read not to wear the priestly's garment. I never heard anything about pants.
I heard back in the 70s, it was shameful for a woman to wear her natural hair in the house of the Lord. And I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute. That's new to me. But again, these were all these things were different, not mentioned, not expressly stated in the Bible. These things were spiritually bypassed. All of this nonsense was not expressly stated in the Bible. So we have these people that are taking it and filtering it out as demonic or as evil or as unpleasant.
Right.
In all reality, there are other things going on,
A lot of things going on.
It could be, mental health. It could be social conditioning. It could be you just watched a movie last night and it made you rubbed you the wrong way.
Right.
It could be a bunch of things. So I consider that all the time in people. I always give people the benefit of the doubt because I'm always trying to see the good in people. But sometimes it's just like, all right, I just need to get away from you.
Right. And that's how I feel. Like some people, they're like, oh, well, this person is this. And I'm like, something's off. Yeah. You can stay. I'm going home. I'll leave. I don't care. Then I'll get a call like, where are you at? I'm home.
I'm home. We're safe. And
I'm in the bed. Took my shower. Like, I'm done. I was done. I have no, and people like, anytime somebody has something, there's people around. As soon as I know it's about to go south, I'm like, okay. I look at my kids, they look at me, we gone.
And that's that environmental awareness. You got to have it. You want to, what they call it, protecting your peace.
Right.
You want to protect your peace. You got to be well armed with the mental capacity to be aware of what's going on in your environment.
Right. So, and sometimes it's a natural thing and sometimes it's a spiritual thing. Like,
oh yeah.
So it's like, you got to know when to move.
Yes, you have to know when to move. You have to.
I just be like, okay. And then later they'd be like, did you hear about what happened? I already seen it coming. I left.
Right.
I left. I seen it coming.
I saw it in my mind's eye.
Right. I'm like, I'm leaving.
Told you.
Yeah. But I appreciate you and thank you for coming on and chatting with me.
Of course.
And because we have some great chats in the DMs.
Yeah, we do.
Some great chats.
Yes.
So this right here, this was very mild compared to us.
Yeah.
And our witty banter in the DMs.
Yeah. I wanted to keep it mild because I was just like, I don't want to be attacked, man. I don't have time. I don't mind the controversy because I'm pretty sure I said enough controversial things, but at the same time, I don't want to be.
Right. And it's totally understandable. On the other hand, I don't care. But because at this point, like everybody's gonna have something to say anyway. So
true.
You can say what you want to say, but put it in my comments so it can run up my feed. So put it in the comments. Stop DMing me. Stop DMing me. Just put it in my comments. Let's everybody have the conversation. Put it in the comments. Yeah. And I think that's another thing. People are scared of what other people think. Mm. Oh, if I do yoga, this means that I'm inviting demons in. Mm. And I'm like, how? How?
Yeah. And there's no like explicit answer because there isn't. You're just
right.
There can be a spiritual, and this is the thing about yoga, there can be a spiritual experience, especially when you have never breathed deeply. Your body has a visceral reaction and your spirit says, we need that again, man. That was a good hit. Good hit of air. Thank you for that,
And even just your brain.
Mm-hmm. Your brain, your body, your all levels of yourself. They thank you for doing the stretching, for doing the opening, for doing the breathing and so on. For even turning off the TV and meditating and sitting in silence for 5 minutes. For
meditations in the Bible. I'm sure I've seen that in there. Turning off TV, turning off your phone, turning down your plate.
Mm-hmm. So it's sometimes we miss these very fruitful and heart-filling things by demonizing so much. We miss out on some beautiful experiences and blessings by putting a demon on it. Not everything is about a demon. Everything ain't demonic.
Some of these people sleeping with a demon, but that's a whole nother thing. But but if they don't want to do yoga, you can walk. You can go to the gym.
You can go to the gym.
You can work out at home. There's so many videos on YouTube. Like, you don't have to do yoga, but if you're gonna say something's demonic and you're gonna say it's this and it's that, let's have a real conversation about it.
Mika, you are hilarious.
Like, I want to call it. I'm gonna call a spade. Like, it's not gonna be. It's not gonna be this one thing is demonic, but this other thing is not demonic. The gluttony is not demonic. That's not of sin. Like, sin is. I've always been told sin is sin. You talking about somebody backbiting? That's sin is sin.
Yeah.
So it can't just be one thing is sin and the other thing is okay. That's okay because it's soul food and our ancestors used to eat it. And no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call a spade a spade. If I can call a spade in my own life and say to myself, yeah, you tripping. This isn't this. This isn't right. That isn't. I could talk to myself, and then you want to come to me and tell me something after I already had a conversation with myself. But you don't have an answer. You don't have a Bible verse to back it up. You don't have anything to tell me why it's wrong besides it just is. Then I want to talk about everything that's wrong.
I feel like also there's like there's a money grab at the end of all of this, especially if you get to a point in your demonizing of everything. There's like this there's a big money grab. And if you notice, like those conversations of yoga being demonic they're cyclical. They're never going away. They're cyclical. And if you notice that the points in the year when they come up again, it's always around election year. So y'all do what y'all want with y'all politics. But I often recognize that certain things come up on a particular side.
It's on repeat.
And they'll get these people who haven't practiced for years simply because they just haven't practiced to start saying things against it to, it's fit a rhetoric that'll get you to be this conservative person. Conservative folk don't do yoga, when I know for a fact that is not true at all. I have a lot of conservative students that are doing yoga. So it fear mongers people, and it just drives up likes, comments, and subscribes, and people will just start to make money off of debating this thing that demonizes people, and it just or yoga people too.
Right. It's rage baiting.
It's rage baiting. That's what it is. Rage baiting.
Yeah.
Rage baiting and fear mongering the folk, especially around election time, when folk are just trying to do their quick little vote and then go back to their regular lives.
Right.
Go back to their breath.
Right.
And then that's disrupted by, maybe you shouldn't do that because you invoking some things.
Right.
Well, why are you saying that? Is it because you're getting a check for this?
And that's what people don't understand. Like a lot of times, a lot of things people don't even believe in it. They don't even know anything about it.
That's the thing.
And they're getting paid for it.
Haven't done the yoga in a few years, and somebody caught on to that and said, hey, here's a script. Read it to your Instagram page.
There was I don't know who it was who put it together, but it was all these different news channels, and they put it in a compilation. And everybody was saying the same thing. It was the same thing. So if they're telling you the same thing over and over again,
verbatim,
repetition over and over again, you start to believe it.
Yeah.
You start to not think for yourself.
Yeah.
Because this person is in high regard. So we have to listen to them.
Yeah.
Because during 2020, I was like, like, y'all do what y'all want. Y'all do what y'all want.
What do they say? They say if you tell a lie enough times, people will start to believe it as the truth. That's like a real way of brainwashing. I think a psychologist studied that during they studied it for Hitler during his time with the, around or before World War II. He got Hitler paid a psychologist to study what would happen if you tell a person a lie long enough. And I forget the name of the action, but they end up believing it. They really end up believing it, and it's a form of brainwashing. It's really
manipulation.
Yeah. So
like you can see somebody, they are physically beautiful. They could be the most beautiful person you have ever seen, but because growing up, their parent or someone close to them told them all the time that they were ugly. They think they're ugly, and you look at them like, you ain't even washed your face yet, and you talk about you wake up glowing like you talking about you ugly? Like it definitely is brainwash. It's definitely brainwash, and that's my whole thing about. I've always been the type of person that thought different than everybody else. Like people be saying stuff, and I'm like, that don't make sense. I would go home. I would go home to my mom, and I'm like, well, they said blah 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 blah, and she'd be like, well, what do you think?
Yeah.
I even say that to my own kids. What do you think?
Yourself.
What do you think about yourself?
Yep. What do you?
Because I'm not always going to be around. Even my oldest. My oldest is 21 years old. Something, I don't know what it was that happened, and she said to herself, "What will my mom do?" Because I'm always saying to her, like, "Well, what do you think?" Even when she was younger, what do you think? If you robbed the bank with your friends, you still going to jail? Like it's not. You was there.
You know that, and you know that beforehand.
Right. So you're going with them. Then, and I said, and usually when people do heinous crimes, it's always the parents' fault. No matter how old the person is, it always falls back. Usually on the mother. Like, usually on the mother. And I'm like, y'all got to learn how to think for yourselves, because people will have you thinking that something is right and it's totally wrong. It's like you said, you're being brainwashed.
Yeah.
And I wasn't easily brainwashed. So for me, it's just like, y'all can say whatever y'all want. I don't care. I'm still gonna think what I think.
Right. And sometimes that's just the best way to go, so that you can self-preserve.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you can't just let yourself wither away. You can't. That's the last straw. When you start to wither away, that's the last straw.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so big on self-love, self-awareness, because if you're not aware of things going on within yourself, I did yoga the other day. I was aware of the fact that I don't stretch enough. I was aware of that. My thighs were burning.
I felt it.
I was aware physically.
Yeah.
I need a lot more movement in my life.
Yeah.
And even with the stretching, as you get older, your body starts getting tighter. And a lot of people, you see a lot of them, they're hunched over. They're like, and it's like,
that's postural alignment.
Yeah. How did you get from walking straight and now you're hunched over? And it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And I think a lot. So I'm just like, I'm a thinker. So so when people say stuff to me, like, I already got like 5 or 10 questions as to,
as you should,
how did you get there?
As you should, you know? So, I mean, there's there's times where I'm thinking, say I'm in a session, right, with a person who has the rounded back. They call that kyphosis, when you're hunched over. And I'm thinking to myself, how did we get like this? Is this from work? Is this from stress? Is this from never being aware of our posture? What is it? So I'm asking 101 questions to the client.
Right.
And then I'm figuring out ways of gently correcting it so that we can get back to a lengthened spine, you know? And sometimes what'll happen is, well, this is just the way I've always been. It's just like, okay, so how is this helping or hindering you? Do you think this is helping or hindering you? Is it adding to your quality of life? Is this not adding to your quality of life?
Right.
I think there's also a realization when you start asking yourself, when you start thinking and becoming a thinker, there's like, oh my goodness, I have questions for myself.
Right. Right.
Why didn't I do this before? Well, how can I do this? How can I get, you know, and it just keeps going. And so sometimes people need that spark to help them become a thinker. And then that fire just keeps burning to want to do better. So sometimes people just need a gentle spark of inspiration, gentle move,
a little nudge.
Yeah, a little nudge.
I hope this was a nudge that some of them needed. Because I know I'm not the only one that was thinking it. The why is it dynamic?
Right.
Demonic. Demonic. Why? Like, just why? And it's sometimes you need, like you said, you need that spark so you can start thinking, and then it'll fall over to other things. Well, why is this like this? And because a lot of you're going to school, growing up in the school system, you're not taught to question anything.
No, the critical thinking skills are off of the curriculum these days. So
it always has been. Like, they're acting like this is something new. It always has been. You can't just get up and go to the bathroom. We have to ask permission to go to the bathroom. Like, it always has been. You can't just, if you're hungry, you can't just go to your little cubby and go get a snack. You have to wait until lunch. You're being controlled from day one. So critical thinking was never in it. So when people, that's a whole nother, because I worked in the school system. So that's a whole
Yeah.
with people having this fit about critical thinking, it was never there.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
who am I? Who am I?
Oh goodness.
That's a whole nother conversation. We hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. If you catch the replay, you can still put comments in the replay and we will answer your questions. And if you want to debate and argue and go back and forth, I'm just going to ignore you. I'm going to try to. I'm going to try my best to ignore you because if you ain't, thank you guys for coming.
You guys can find me on Instagram at Yoga Therapy by Karina, Corina. Yoga Therapy by Karina.
Yes, check her out. Go follow her page. Go be more open to learning different things. Be more open. You don't have to conform to it, but you can definitely listen to different things and make your own judgment from it. I can't think of the word that I really want to say, but
take everything with a grain of salt.
Right. I'm gonna end it there because we almost went an hour. It doesn't feel like it, but we almost went an hour.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I'm long-winded, but you know,
no, it's fine.
It seems like I enjoyed it.
But in order for somebody to understand something, things have to be broken down and explained.
Yes.
Especially when you just been told that something's wrong, but you don't know why.
Yeah.
I like for things to be broken down. Like after we finish this live, I'm gonna go back and watch it.
Yeah. I'll be doing the same thing. Yeah.
I like when things are broken down because I'm a thinker. So
as you should be.
Yeah. So with that being said, I will talk to you guys later.
Bye. How do you get out of here?